a pack of wolves found me. That wasn't fun. I was standing on the ice. It must have been about 4:30 in the morning. It was dark. I could just about see, the shape of the trees and the edge of the lake and things like that. But because it was cloudy, there wasn't a lot of light. And I heard howling up in the distance in the mountains from the wolves. I was like, oh, cool. I was looking around and I noticed there was one wolf on the ice, like on the opposite side. And you could see it, walking around, sniffing the air and weaving its way towards me. It hadn't obviously seen me, but it could smell me. But I didn't realize that. I was like, oh, that's really cool. Look, cute, isn't it? Nice. And then I was like, oh, hang on a minute. He's looking for me and he's telling the others where I am because he can smell me. And he was zigzagging closer and closer and closer. And I start walking the other way and like 10 other wolves run out onto the ice. I'm like, oh, shit.
Welcome to Vallerret's Creative Outsiders, where we talk the radical stories from behind the lens. I'm Lucas Riedel, photographer and filmmaker, and with me is Carl Vandenboom, co-founder of Vallerret, photographer turned glove designer, video all-rounder, a machine in front of the lens, amazing golfer, not to forget, and overall just a great person to hang with. Carl, how you doing?
I'm doing good. Stiff patting myself on the back there with all of your nice comments.
Yeah, you should wait for the guest to be introduced.
You set the bar high. I don't think I'm that interesting of a person.
Do you remember that night in Abisko when we almost got lost on our way back to the snowmobile after chasing the Aurora?
I do. It was one of those moments where you don't really know how you got in that situation. But Dave, we were up in the north of Sweden and went up into the mountains. Lucas was visiting. I was training sled dogs at the time and taking sled dog tours. And anyway, we went up, shoot the Northern Lights one night, and we parked the snow scooter like 50 meters away from the top of the hill. Went up, shot the lights for a couple of hours, and then in that time, the clouds come in, and it's crazy, man. We could not find our way back. And it was 100 meters maximum 100 meters. We had to get back to the scooter, and we ran around, starting to freak out. Top of a mountain,
Nice.
freezing cold.
Yeah. Oh man,
I was.
I want to say dumb stuff, but I don't think we were being dumb. It was just we didn't quite anticipate.
There was probably some excitement as well, wasn't there? When you get there,
Absolutely.
and you make the walk from the snow scooter, it was probably longer than you thought because of the excitement. And then so when you turned around at the end, it was probably a bit further away. Throw in the whiteout of Abisko and northern Sweden and the clouds. Yeah,
And
that's
the
not
fresh snow
it's not a
covering up
good
the
combo.
foot tracks.
Yeah, true. Because we
Nice.
wouldn't follow our foot tracks back.
I was. Can I say this on here? I was shit scared.
Yeah, I remember
Officially.
actually. I was like, I was keeping the cool because you were a little bit like not sure, and I was like, it's fine. It's right here. No idea where it was. I'm like, we just got to go this way, Lucas. We're good, man.
I can remember
Also,
we
in the back
were
of my head just
arguing.
going, we better fucking be good because
We were arguing about the direction. I was going like 100% sure it's this way, and you were like, no, I'm sure it's this way. And there's no phone reception, no GPS with us. You couldn't see shit, and it was freezing cold.
Yeah.
It was kind of intense, even as being good friends, but it got intense.
Yeah. Next time you tie a string to it when you walk away.
totally.
We should have known you already. You could have told us what to do, I guess. But anyway, that's the kind of stories we're bringing to this podcast, not only to entertain, but also to teach a little bit how to prepare, inspire you to keep going, and give you the courage to try and remind you why creating matters. And that brings me to our guest. He doesn't just chase light, he practically lives under it. We have Dave Williams, a travel photographer, educator, Aurora chaser, I know down cinnamon bun lover, and daddy to a lovely husky pup. His passion for the northern skies has taken him into some of the coldest and most remote nights on Earth. He's also the author of The Complete Aurora Guide. He leads unforgettable photo tours in Norway's Lofoten Islands with his company Lofoten Insight, and his images and especially his videos have probably inspired countless people to brave the dark for a chance to see the northern lights for a first time. Let's see what he can tell us about the patience and depth and resilience that's necessary to get those lights. Dave, how are you doing? Where are you tuning in from?
Well, I'm in Norway, funny enough. I'm in Lofoten, and I'm inside a museum cabin. It's you know those red fishermen's cabins above the water, synonymous with Lofoten, all the fishing villages. I'm inside
Yeah.
one of those. It's nearly 200 years old. There's terrible weather outside today. We've got rain and wind, but this old thing is pretty weatherproof, so it's nice and peaceful and warm inside. But yeah, that's where I am. And yeah, I'm good, thank you. How are you?
We're doing amazing. It's our first episode of Vallerret Creative Outsiders. We have a pretty amazing guest, I guess. Do you agree, Carl? I hyped him even more up than you.
Yeah, it was a great intro. Well done. Hey, Dave, whereabouts are you in Lofoten?
So I live in Svalbard. Well, specifically, I live on an island called Svinoya. So Svinoya has a resort called Svinoya Aurora. I don't know how many. There's a lot of fishermen's cabins, some houses, apartments. There's a fish factory. So it's a proper working community. And you just cross over the bridge and you're in the town of Svalbard, which is, depending on who you ask, it's kind of the capital of Lofoten. So most of the main companies are here, and you can go from here to see any of the archipelago.
I did a splitboard tour up there a couple of years ago. We stayed in one of those like little red things, and it was awesome.
Nice.
We had a great
Yeah.
time.
It's a perfect segue here because I guess not all the listeners know what you're doing or like know what it is like to see the Northern Lights. I have a great example here, and I would highly encourage to check out the video podcast if you're only listening. So give this a go, just for you guys out there to hear what Dave's doing out there.
My God, what? Whoa! Jesus! Look at that! Whoa! Isn't that amazing? Have you ever seen anything like it? Whoa! How many colors? Look at the red up here. Purple, green, filling the whole sky. It's dancing over here. Whoa! Oh my God. Are you happy? Woo!
All right. Dave,
Yeah.
can you explain what's going on here?
Yeah, it's the Northern Lights, bro. So if we track it back to how the company exists, I used to be a full-time travel photographer, and I was teaching photography and writing magazines, books, speaking at conferences, all the fun stuff. And I decided I need to stay in one place. My passion is Northern Lights and winter landscapes. And it was a pretty easy choice. I ended up in Lofoten. And so the thing I do now, because of Brexit and requiring a visa and not being able to be a freelancer, is I had to get a job. But there was a caveat in the law that although I couldn't be a freelancer, I couldn't be self-employed, I had to get a job. I could make a company and employ myself. And that's what I did. So Lofoten Insight is that. It's been going for just over a year. And the main product that we have, the top seller, the number one, the reason people look for us is Northern Lights. I started off with one 9-seater Volkswagen Transporter Caravelle, and now the third one arrives this week. So business is going pretty good. People are happy. Our Aurora tour isn't like others because we actually dive deep into the science and explain exactly what's going on instead of just going, yeah, there's the sun and there's gases and all that stuff. We actually understand it, and I make sure all of my guides that work for me understand it properly as well. And then the car's full of other stuff like hot chocolate, obviously, moose antlers and flags and things to take pictures with. And at Christmas we have all the Christmas stuff. And so it's not your everyday Northern Lights tour. As you can see from the video, it's all about excitement as well as a bit of education and a bit of sort of the chase. And depending on the weather, sometimes you have to chase harder than other times. But yeah, that's the roundabout short version of why everything happens. Is because I needed a job and I made a company to give myself a job, and it worked.
Sounds like a great loophole, though.
Yeah,
for
it's an interesting
everyone else
one.
out there. Write
It's
that
an
down.
interesting one.
So that means you obviously spend loads of nights and days in the cold by the
Mhm.
location and also by what you're doing. If you would point out one unforgettable moment on tour or privately, doesn't matter, what happened?
To be honest, there's a few. So one of the best things about what I do is to be able to show people the Northern Lights, and they're seeing it for the first time. And although I've seen it hundreds, maybe thousands, I don't know, of times, I've seen it explode with all the colors so many times. Sharing that experience and showing people that is a hugely rewarding thing. But I do remember the first time it happened to me, of course. the very first time I saw the Northern Lights was in Iceland. I was staying in Reykjavik I can't remember what it's called. You know, like those pod hotels where you just get you basically get a cupboard to sleep in. I was staying in one of those. I was driving around in like a Hyundai i10 or some terrible small car. And I saw what looked like a cloud, but it was a cool shape. So I got the camera out to take a photo, and I was in the national park just outside of, what's it called? Thingvellir National Park. I was in there next to a lake, took a photo of this cloud, and the cloud was green. I was like, oh, that must be the Northern Lights. It wasn't even on my mind. The whole purpose of the trip was winter landscapes and that abandoned DC3 before it got popular. And so, yeah, that was it. It disappeared. The next night I was like, okay, I'm on a mission now. I've got to go and take pictures of the Northern Lights. And out I went. And it was cloudy and clear skies coming and going. And I looked straight up above me. There was this explosion for like 10 seconds, and then it was gone. And that just got me hooked. And I took every opportunity to go into the Auroral Oval, into Sweden, Finland, Norway, Iceland, Faroe Islands, Canada, just to get as high as possible, as much as possible, to maximize my chances. But the internet at the time didn't have much information. There weren't many books around to explain how it works, how to find it, all of that stuff. And so I took it upon myself to gather as much information as possible to sort of learn what drives it, why does it look different every time, why sometimes it's north, sometimes south, why does it explode now and then, all of these things. And ended up writing the book, which is now it's the third edition. And it seems to have helped a lot of people. It's got some cool reviews, but it made me understand that there's so much more to the Aurora than most people think. If you go on the internet and look for how do I find the Northern Lights, the answer is always find the dark sky, go away from the town, and look north. None of that matters. The only thing that matters is that you have clear sky and either an understanding of the Aurora or a lot of patience, but quite often both of those things. You have to understand that it's not going to cooperate.
Yeah.
It's going to come when it's ready. You can look at the forecasts and the solar wind and read this event's coming. Like right now, we're under the effect of a coronal hole high-speed stream. The speed of the solar wind last night was about 750 kilometers per second, which is a huge number that most people can't wrap their heads around. But that was creating like a vibrant, tall, really active dancing aurora. But for those dances to happen, we had intervals of about 2.5 hours in between each dance where nothing happened. And if you don't know what you're looking for, you're just looking at clouds or dark sky or unsettled northern lights, which looks like clouds. Taking all of that and putting it together and showing people, hey, this is how you do it, and showing them the Northern Lights for the first time to remind me of my first time seeing the Northern Lights. That's like the rewarding thing that comes off the back of it. And yeah, I do remember all the big shows.
I think that video we just saw, and for those that are listening, we watched a video with people screaming under the Northern Lights. I think it captures like how people view the Northern Lights for the first time. It really captures the atmosphere. Just like it's what it feels like. You're just excited, and you can't really explain the emotion, or as you say, if they're not really above you, really dancing in kind of this green rainbow in the distance, it's not the same atmosphere or excitement. Yeah, I think it's a really cool depiction of what it feels like.
It's addictive, is what it is.
Yeah, but that's a great question, because you said you started with like how many photographers probably start out shooting the Aurora. It's a little green, and then you take a long exposure photo, and then it gets more green, and you go like, oh, that's crazy. So, but going from that to what we just saw on the video, check it out. Make sure to check it out because it's amazing. How would you describe did your emotions go? Because you, in your career chasing it, you probably have seen it better and better and better from the way you've also got behind the science and everything. So did that addictive thing come back and like kick your emotions over and over again? Or is it does it get boring at some point?
No, I mean, when you have stable sort of regular aurora, when, no explosions, just like arcs of light, obviously that's not as exciting once you've experienced lots of geomagnetic substorming, but it's still cool. I still am absolutely in awe of nature all the time. You'll quite often hear me, if you come on one of the tours, you'll hear me say, I hate nature, because it doesn't cooperate. It doesn't do, but I do. I love it. It's beautiful. And when you're doing a tour in particular, you have to remember that although I know what I know and what I've seen, if someone hasn't seen it before, this is the best thing they've ever seen. And it's great. And you bring out the camera, take their portrait, send it to them the next day, the smile on their face and the happiness. I get it. It's beautiful. It's
It
beautiful.
always made me want to drink whiskey. I don't know why. You get out there and you see the Northwest coming, it's like you just want to like sit back, lie down, have a whiskey, and just like soak it up.
I
Yeah,
guess
maybe
that's
because you were cold.
That's true.
but it's also a thing that you basically forget, right? It's like once you chase them with the camera, you keep forgetting to just enjoy them. Just lean back and enjoy
Yeah,
them.
I have to tell people sometimes, like they're looking at it through their phone and the light of their phone's in their face, and like, put the phone down, just watch it. I'll take some pictures. You'll get proper pictures in the morning. Just enjoy the show, because
Mm.
yeah, the other thing is people fall over.
Yeah.
If it's like rippling through the sky on the horizon, then it comes overhead, and you do that, and you forget where you are, and it's icy. People fall over all the time, and no one gets injured, fortunately. But it's funny.
All right, but now where you are, Ed, you have been changing things quite often, as we heard. But for me, it's interesting. How often did you doubt yourself, or like think? How much did you learn on the way to change and to be where you are?
Ooh, a lot. You've heard of imposter syndrome, right?
Oh, yeah.
Where everyone believes in you, but you don't believe in yourself. Is probably the shortest explanation of that. That happens a lot, and it happens to everyone. Even when I look at some of the people that I've sort of become friends with that are huge in photography, like Scott Kelby, for example, or Russell Brown at Adobe, even these big players, they get imposter syndrome, and they think, why do you want to learn from me? But it's something that you'd never really sort of get over. You just sort of go with the flow. And you realize that it's about shared experience and sharing experience. So teaching Photoshop, for example, something that you do every day on Photoshop that becomes quite tedious or monotonous. Somebody doesn't know how to do that. And teaching them how to do it is maybe a game changer for them, for their workflow or for their creativity. And so if you take that, just one example of doing one thing in Photoshop, but stretch it out, extrapolate throughout all of photography or all of creativity or all of post-production, there are so many things that people don't know how to do, and they want to learn from their peers. Sometimes they want to learn from a workshop or from a book or from an online course or whatever, but either way, they're looking at somebody within the community of photographers looking to share their knowledge, their experience, learn from their peers. And so imposter syndrome is a huge thing. It's constant. It still happens to the best photographers I know, but
I know that feeling.
you just have,
very
you
well.
just have to,
Very well.
yeah. Like, why do you care what I think about these gloves? I'm just Dave, but no, because I'm out in the cold every night, I guess, or it's sometimes it's windy, sometimes it's rainy, sometimes it's snowy. You're interested in hearing the feedback, but every now and then I go, why do you want to give me these gloves? Why do you care what I think about them? It's imposter syndrome. You never get over it. I don't know anyone that's gotten over it, and it's a big topic when you're sitting behind the scenes of these big sort of photography conventions like the Photography Show or Adobe Max. It's a topic that people are talking about all the time, and talking like, I remember the first time I did it, all that sort of stuff. It's a real thing.
So I think that's an interesting conversation, because it's not just I guess for everyone that can get imposter syndrome, in all sorts of worlds outside of photography. Or how do you deal with it? So you say you can't get over it.
You just have to go through, get on with it, and you might have sort of bad thoughts that things are gonna, like, oh, he's gonna stand up on stage at a show with 500 people and the building's gonna burn down, or whatever. The worst thing's always gonna come into your mind. or they're going to hate me, or I'm going to say a joke and they're not going to find it funny, or whatever it may be. You just have to keep going and get through it, because even if something does go wrong, so many other things are going to go right. Yeah, there's no solid answer. You just have to keep going.
And
Yeah.
typically, the worst thing or nothing really bad happens, right? Like
No,
it's all just
I-
made up in your own head, and
yeah,
nothing ever
yeah.
goes that wrong.
Maybe you click a wrong button or something now and then. That's about it.
You missed the Aurora, but don't you guys agree that this is also like a big part of people being like keeping on pushing, like, that keeps you getting out there and trying to get another Aurora and
Yeah.
create another great experience for the customers.
Yeah.
and So that
Every time
without that feeling, kind of, you wouldn't progress in a way.
Yeah. Every time you take your best photo, you then have to beat it. So then you have to take another best photo or whatever. Yeah.
All right, but in order to create your best photo, it's like the weather in Lofoten, I guess we heard it is not always the best. It can be.
No.
What did I read lately? Lofoten is Lofotening again. So that was on a video where the rain was coming from the bottom left to the top right.
Yeah.
So instead of up to down. So.
I've got a video. You know Hamnoy Bridge, the iconic view of the red cabins in the mountain. I've got a video of the Aurora from there, where it's snowing upwards, and then there's Aurora as well in the same video. So Lofoten is like that. I think it's an oceanic maritime climate. So it's was it an oceanic Arctic maritime climate, something like that. But basically it means it's windy and it's wet and it's cold. Any of the above in any order at any time. And so right now I've got maybe 3 layers of clouds and rain and wind, but it could be blue sky in an hour. They say, it's a famous saying in Iceland, but it applies to Lofoten as well. If you don't like the weather, just wait 5 minutes. Yeah.
That's great. So, but yeah, with that, the change and everything, how do you prepare for a night out or a day out, and if it's cold or if it's unpredictable?
Yeah, well, on the tours we have the car. The car helps a lot, but when I'm out on my own, I'll be walking away and out into nature and whatever happens. And so you need everything. Whatever you think you need. Like you swimming shorts and an Arctic like flotation suit, everything. So if we look at layers, everyone says dress in layers. It's a really good idea. You can take layers off, you can put layers on. It really helps. And this is a historic thing. I'm sitting inside a museum cabin from 200 years ago, and the fishermen here in the early 1800s, 1820s, they had the same concepts. They had wool thermal layers underneath, and then another layer, and then the waterproofs on the outside. Layering is huge, and there's a reason people say you should do it, and it works. My favorite thing for layering is the glove liners. They're incredibly comfortable, and you can take the gloves on and off and you'll still have protection. Even if you're using the ones with the flappy fingers, these glove liners are fantastic. I recommend them to everybody.
I guess that's an easy thing to forget, right? It's like you have layers everywhere, but then you forget your head and your hands. This is where you don't layer. You have one beanie on, or like one wool thing on your head, and then you have one pair of gloves on your hands.
Yeah. And the other thing everyone forgets is their feet. If you're taking photos, you're generally standing pretty still. And so if you've got your feet in contact with cold ground, so let's say the air temperature is 0, the ground's going to be -10 or so, probably. If you go into interior Lapland, Sweden, Finland, northern Norway, you could be looking at -30, -40. And so if you're standing there with you've got your soles on your shoes, of course, but you're basically in contact with that frozen ground. Your feet are going to suffer. And if your feet or the back of your neck are feeling the effects of the cold, you're not going to have fun. And if you're not having fun, you're going to lose your creativity. And if you lose your creativity, what are you doing? So in my opinion, your feet and the back of your neck are very important to keep warm, to keep your creativity going.
Yeah, that's pretty good. But besides from all the gear that nowadays everyone can buy, what's a mental trick, or what's a ritual that you can do to stay out longer? It's like
I always, when my guests say they're cold, I say, don't worry about it. You've got a good story. When you go home to, I don't know, let's say Malaysia. Malaysia's always a good example. Malaysia's always hot, always. And so they come here in summer and they're cold. And I just say, look, you fight through it. You've got this. And when you get home next week, you'll be able to tell your friends a really cool story about how cold you were, but there was northern lights, or but there was a snowstorm, or there was this great view, or this nice rainbow, or you saw orcas or eagles. It's the other stuff. You have to sort of take the fact that you're cold and put it in a box over here and look at all the other stuff, and you'll have a really good story to tell about how cold you were when that happened.
Mm.
Do you think you can prepare a little bit like that? Can you train that?
I think so. It's a little bit state of mind. Look at Wim Hof jumping into ice lakes and sitting outside in blizzards in a pair of boxer shorts and meditating through it. There's absolutely a state of mind about whether you're cold or whether you feel the effect of the cold or whether you let yourself be influenced by the feeling of cold.
Yes, because I think
But
there's
that's
kind of
person
two
to
different
person.
things.
Yeah.
Or there's two ways to think about it when you're preparing like that. Is you can like having those ice baths and stuff, and just calming yourself down and being able to just like deal with it instead of freaking out is kind of the same as being a long time out on the cold. But the other thing you talked about is when you get cold, you lose your creativity, and I'm always impressed with the people that can take photos in like shit situations, and everything's gone wrong, right? Like generally we take photos of good moments and things when we're happy, and it's really hard to take a photo when you're pissed off, something's
Yeah.
bad gone. And so like the journalist photographers, and we had a girl working for us for a couple of years ago who did a trip in Chile or somewhere, and she did not have a great time for a few days. It was just terrible weather. She just hated being on the bike, and the photos she got from there were awesome. And she's like, these were my worst days. And she was still out there just taking photos. And I'm like, I don't know that I have that mental grind to like when you're annoyed and pissed off and you're just like,
Mhm.
let me get the camera out and shoot this moment.
Yeah. I always say that bad weather makes great photos. Here in Lofoten, when you've got the clouds on the mountains, you've got rain. If there's rain, there's usually a rainbow. If there's clouds on the mountains, you've got drama. If you've got this slightly cloudy, you've got soft light. If you've got cold winter days with no sun, you've usually got some glowing, colorful skies. Bad weather is good photography. It's 100% a thing. Yeah. And that's usually something that gets people through. Like
Do you have an example?
Blue sky's
Like,
boring. Blue sky's
have-
boring.
do you have an example, like a one trip that really didn't work out and you learned something about that you pulled through?
Canada was an interesting one. There's one trip I went to the Rocky Mountains. I was staying at Hinton, which is just outside of Jasper at the northern end of, what's it called? Icefields Parkway. Where Bigfoot lives. There was terrible weather, but that terrible weather meant that when the sun got through the clouds for the sunrise photo, I did a sunrise shoot of Medicine Lake. When the light got through the clouds, it was beautiful beams of light. The sky went purple. It was bad weather during the day, but during the day is generally not when we're taking photos as landscape photographers. We're usually active around dawn and dusk, aren't we? And at those times of day, I was saved by some light coming through. There was another morning I went to, what's it called? The big lake with the bubbles in the ice.
Yeah.
I know it.
That place.
I forgot the name.
The weather was so bad I had to do it twice. But the first time I did it, not only was the weather really bad, but I actually got chased off the ice. I was wearing cleats, so I could move around on the ice. But a pack of wolves found me. That wasn't fun. I was standing on the ice. It must have been about 4:30 in the morning. It was dark. I could just about see, the shape of the trees and the edge of the lake and things like that. But because it was cloudy, there wasn't a lot of light. And I heard howling up in the distance in the mountains from the wolves. I was like, oh, cool. I was looking around and I noticed there was one wolf on the ice, like on the opposite side. And you could see it, walking around, sniffing the air and weaving its way towards me. It hadn't obviously seen me, but it could smell me. but I didn't realize that. I was like, oh, that's really cool. Look, cute, isn't it? Nice. And then I was like, oh, hang on a minute. He's looking for me and he's telling the others where I am because he can smell me. And he was zigzagging closer and closer and closer. And I start walking the other way and like 10 other wolves run out onto the ice. I'm like, oh, shit.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
So I had bad weather, but I also had wolves chase me off the ice. I went and
Finish
hid in
that
the rental.
story. How did? Okay,
Went and
what'd
hid
you
in
do?
the. I went and hid in the rental car.
All right.
And
And
it
how
was quite
close did they get?
probably about 300 meters. There was like a little nook sticking out, like a peninsula on the lake, and they went to there. And I waited about 30, 45 minutes or so, and I thought, that's it, they've gone. They must have disappeared when I didn't notice. And this other car pulled up, one of the local guys who like goes ice skating there every day or whatever. He arrived and I said, oh, there's some wolves over there, but I think they're gone. And he was looking around for a few minutes. He went, no, there they are. They're sitting over there watching us. Okay, I'm going home. I'll come back tomorrow.
Mm. Yeah,
Does it
that's
mean
not-
no photo at all, or did you just still get like something?
I got some photos. I got the photos the next day. I have a video of the wolf coming across the ice, if I can find it.
All right, that would be
Yeah.
be
Wow.
interesting. So,
What an
so
experience.
was that a moment you thought like you're not cut out for this? You're not
No,
gonna do that again?
no. It's all fun, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's all
It's
fun.
you think about risk assessments a little bit, but without a little risk, there's no reward. So yeah, as long as you're not being dangerous or stupid, it's fine.
At what
That's
point did you decide that you had to get off the ice?
When I realized what was going on, when I
Yeah,
realized,
I'm sure it took a lot longer than probably it should have for the.
yeah, because I
Then
like I
all,
said,
then all of a sudden
I
hit
thought
you,
I thought it was cute. I thought, oh, look,
Yeah.
a wolf. I'm looking for nature and wildlife. What a great opportunity.
Yeah.
Because the day before, I'd found some elk and 3 moose on the way to another morning shoot. So I was like, oh yeah, tick this off the list. I had bighorn sheep or mountain sheep, whatever they're called, those stumpy cold weather sheep that live in the mountains. So I was ticking off all this stuff that I'd seen, and I was like, yes, wolf. Yeah. But when I realized that he was basically tracking me, that's when I thought, oh, okay, it's time to go.
This
And
is not fun anymore.
I can move to some extent, but I was quite far from the car, and yeah, okay.
What on a scale from 1 to 10? What was the scare factor?
Not really scared of much, to be honest, Lucas. It was more about just whether it's worth taking a risk. We'll go 50-50. We'll go number 5.
You got to say
no,
what,
I'm not really scared of much. I don't want to sound like crazy or something, but I'm not.
So you've been assessing the risks of like being eaten by wolves and getting the shot.
Yeah.
It's very solid.
It's pretty solid.
You're making me sound crazy.
Good day out. Did you get any shots of the wolves?
No, only of the video where you can basically see it in the distance. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was so dark, but yeah. So
Okay.
yeah, that was an interesting weather experience. Yeah.
So we only heard like cold stories so far. Do you think the like shooting in the cold and the northern lights and everything that has shaped you as a person a little bit? So you're harder than others. I said you're not scared, and
I don't really get cold very easily, but when I do, it's like all of a sudden I'm frozen. I guess I'm used to it from being out in the cold every night. But here in Lofoten, the temperature isn't too extreme. If it's -10, that's cold. Whereas if you go to, like I said, Lapland, if it's -30, -40, even -50, that's cold there when you're inland. What we have here that makes it feel cold is the wind, and the wind does completely different things to you. We had Storm Amy, remember last
Yeah.
week?
Yeah, it's pretty
We had
crazy.
Northern Lights in Storm Amy, and the video of that is just wind noise. Nothing but wind noise. But that does completely different things to you. That affects your nose and your ears and your little finger and the outside of your hand and things like that. And so that's the thing I'm fighting against more, because where I used to travel so much to really cold places, now I'm here all the time, where if you get a wind from the east coming over Lapland, that's cold. Or if you get a strong wind from any other direction, if it's already a bit cold, the wind chill makes the difference. that's where layering and covering up makes a really big difference, protecting from that wind, especially if there's slight humidity. It's 10 times the effect.
How do you deal with the actual camera gear in the winds? Are you hanging like weights to the tripods or anything?
If you spread the legs out on a heavy tripod, you're generally okay. If it's that windy, then it's not worth risking the gear that's balanced on top, to be honest. The cold can affect a lot of cameras, especially batteries. For example, where's my spare battery? There we go. There's a battery in my pocket. Keeping it in your pocket close to your skin keeps it warmer with these lithium ion polymer batteries. Is that what they're called? Lithium ion polymer? Those batteries need to stay warm. If they get cold, they drain quickly. If they're too cold, they won't charge beyond 50%. There's all these things that come into play with these newfangled batteries. So keeping everything as warm as possible is good. The lens, when it's humid, will fog up. You can get a nice dehumidifying heat pack thing that goes around the lens. They're usually quite cheap. Plug them into a USB power pack. The worst thing, however, is when the camera itself is so cold that it won't function. And the best example I have of that is Iceland. I was shooting in a waterfall, which is in a cave, and a tiny bit of the spray from the water went into the camera and affected it. And I dried it out and it was all good. And then that night, so that was the waterfall near Seljalandsfoss. I can't remember the name of it. The one beside it in a cave. Glyfshaburi? Something like that.
You wouldn't be able to say it properly anyway. Just
No.
knowing those Icelandic words.
Exactly. So,
Names.
I drove up to the Vestfjords that evening and we had Aurora in the Vestfjords. And I got the camera out and it wouldn't turn on. And then when it turned on, it wouldn't turn off. And then it wouldn't take pictures. And it was the extreme cold with that slight bit of humidity that did all that. And when the camera doesn't function, there's nothing you can do. So preventing any damage from the environment is hugely important. Hugely. Because obviously there's one extreme of it is your camera doesn't take a picture and you dry it out and it works tomorrow. The other extreme is it's dead forever and it's a lot of money that disappears. So taking care of your gear and making sure it functions by keeping like the humidity, you can deal with that because if you're using a car, for example, putting your camera in and out of the car the whole time is going from one temperature extreme to another constantly. So just leaving the camera out if it's safe is good. If you have to put it in the car, then put it in the back, in the trunk or the boot, whatever you want to call it, where you're from, inside the camera bag. The camera bag is insulated. So put it in the bag, zip it up. That cold air is then inside it. And then you put the bag in the back of the car, furthest away from the heat source at the front. And then it takes a long time to change temperature. And so it's not a dramatic shock and it prolongs the life of your camera.
We were constantly putting those, the things that if you order stuff online or like somewhere you get it sent, you have those little packs.
What are they called?
I probably got a bunch lying around here.
Because I have those always.
I've got a huge pack of those.
Each pocket of my camera bag, each little compartment, I have at least one of those to keep every humidity out when the camera is warming
them
up
through
again.
the camera bag.
Yeah, that's it's not I have them laying right there.
Seasoning.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure if it makes any difference, but never happened to me. But then I also have been, as you described it, mostly taking care of the camera when I have been using it all day outside in the cold and then getting back inside. So you basically leave it in the basement for a while to slowly change the temperature on the gear. That's
no shocks
a good advice.
To the system.
What's your next project? I mean, you have Lofoten Insights running and growing, which is great. But is there any? I know there's probably something in the back of your mind already coming up as a new project.
Yeah, of course there is. What can I say?
What do you allow to say?
There's kind of some secret stuff going. The Lofoten Insight has expanded from me with one car to I now have 10 guides and 3 cars. And now we need a base to that.
All right.
But I'm not going to go into detail.
Lofoten Insight HQ.
Exactly. The global headquarters.
A
Mm.
question for you on the Northern Lights. With your tours and stuff, what's your favorite place? Not a specific place to go, but like what do you like foreground features? Do you like going to the mountains? Do you like being down by the water? What's your favorite place to be when those lights come out?
When I'm taking photos with tours, it's basically evidence, proof the Northern Lights were there. Put the guest in front of the camera, smile, take a picture. You saw not this. It's basically what it is. When I can be creative, I will be. When I'm on my own, however, it becomes more about the composition, the color. But the biggest factor for me for composition is depth. I like to layer the pictures as much as I can. So whatever the foreground is, there needs to be one. The background is obviously the Aurora. The middle ground is the rest of the landscape, and the foreground is whatever's right in front of me. If it's a lake, great. If it's a lake and a mountain, or a tree and a mountain, or there's always a mountain, let's be honest. The depth within the scene is the most important thing, to be able to show sort of scale, lead the viewer's eye through the picture. So the Northern Lights is kind of consequential. It could be there or it could not be there. The rest of the picture needs to work.
Yeah. And so I guess, because I just like being in the mountains, so I always try to get as high as I can. But and around here, if there's Northern Lights, you kind of have to be to get up and see them. But but I guess in your example, like getting down low by the water is good, because then you've got like reflections as foregrounds, and you've got other things going on, right?
Yeah, and if the Northern Lights are on the horizon, then if you get near some water, you basically double the Aurora, because the reflection, it's a good little trick. Twice as much Aurora because of the water. But like a rock in the water or some cracked ice or something, anything like that right in the foreground is great. And if you've got still enough water with a shallow lake, then whatever's on the bottom, you can often see like stones on the bottom or things like that. Yeah. But the biggest factor is to think about how it's not evidence. You're not just going, look, there's the Northern Lights, there's the Northern Lights. You've got to be quite deliberate, and so
you're still taking
everything else that you know,
and all the rules,
everything else that you know about photography.
Yeah, very cool.
There's one things like talking about that for the tours, but probably you do it the same way when you go out by yourself. I have a quote here that says, you will tell people that they have to drive 3 hours that way, then go over a mountain, through a tunnel, at 4 o'clock at night, and then they will have a opening in the clouds, and there will be the Aurora. And they tell me that you're almost 100% right. So what's the process that goes in there? Except being patient, what you said before is an option, but what's all the process?
There's a reason we have a business doing tours. It's because it's not that easy. You have to understand, to be successful, you can't just rely on dumb luck. Just wait long enough. Like I said, just be patient. But if you really want to maximize on it, you have to understand the solar wind, the space weather. So you have to be able to read the data. All these Aurora apps with, the KP this and the red and percentages, they're terrible. They're rubbish. I don't recommend any of them. Learning the solar wind and how it works and how it affects our magnetosphere and our atmosphere and what drives the Aurora, that's important. But more importantly, you need to find clear sky, because if you can't find clear sky, it doesn't matter what the Aurora is doing, you're not going to see it. So understanding weather systems, and like here in Lofoten, there's probably about 15 to 20 microclimates because of the fjords and the mountains and the sea and everything. Understanding how they work, different humidity, different height clouds, different wind patterns, all of that, and combining it all together, that's what makes it work. Because let's say we've got 50% cloud cover. If I find a big hole in one location, I need to then figure out, right, okay, so no, the solar wind's doing this, so the Aurora is going to be in the north or it's going to be in the south. And so where this hole is, do I need to see that way through the hole or that way through the hole? Where do I need to be? Where can I park? Where can we be safe? There's a lot. There's a lot. But that's why the business exists, because it's not easy.
But
If it was easy, I wouldn't have a business.
True story. And but you've been as an educator before, so people can find some education on that on your YouTube channel. Pretty sure. We can put them in the show notes if you guys are
Various
interested.
other podcasts and
definitely
books
follow
and magazines and
follow Dave on all his channels because it's always good stuff. Before we wrap this up, we are having a last section that we call Quickfire. But before we do that, we need to have Dave show the fish.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I'm in a fisherman's cabin, and so obviously there is a fish. Fish is the reason everything is here in Lofoten. The answer to everything here is fish. This is a stockfish, so it hangs on the stock. The wooden fish drying racks, dries out, loses about 80% of its moisture content, and the 20% that's left is the good stuff, the protein, the nutrition, all the minerals, everything's in here. And that's why Lofoten is on the map. It's a geographically protected food, so stockfish must come from Lofoten. This is a scray that swims down from the Barents Sea in the winter. They catch a lot and then they dry them. Well, they dry a lot of them. They export a lot to Italy, but they also make some local dishes as well. But yeah, this is the reason Lofoten is on the map. This guy. This looks like a big mouth, but it's not. The head goes here. This is where the head's been cut.
It's been cut off.
Yeah, stockfish. It's basically like wood.
It's crazy to see the what do they got? These open barns, kind of just with all the fish hanging down.
Just big triangular.
Yeah,
they're called chiao, the fish drying racks. Yeah.
Pretty sure there's plenty of photos to find of that from all kinds of visitors and local guides.
When I was there, it's crazy. Do you eat it dry or you rehydrate it?
You can do. The most sort of common dishes are rehydrating. So if you process this in a certain way, so you cut off the fins and you remove the skin, you can soak it in water for about a week and it becomes fish again, kind of. And then you can cook that, usually bake it or something like that. But you can also just take one of these and take a hammer to it and smash off pieces and eat it like fish jerky, but harder.
Fish jerky. Yeah.
Welcome to Creative Outsiders, the food podcast from Norway. But if we're stay at the food, I've seen you're also offering authentic salmon bun making.
Yeah, we have a food tour called Taste Lofoten, and it includes sampling food in this historic cabin. Includes a tour of the fish factory, about half an hour of the history of the fish, but the day begins in a bakery with a cinnamon bun masterclass.
Screw those Northern Lights. I take the food tour.
Let's go. Combine them all, though, right? You've been out to the Northern Lights.
Northern Lights and cinnamon bun. Yeah.
Have a cinnamon bun.
If I have one day,
I have got an idea. There is something in the pipe work about cinnamon buns and Northern Lights, but yeah, you'll see.
If I have one day to choose from, it's really going to be a hard one. It's like Northern Lights or the food tour. I guess it could be a good one. All right, but yeah, so let's get back to the quick fire. It's just a few quick questions, and I want you to be like really quick on the answer, like not.
I'm bad at
telling more amazing stories, but just to give us one. So, for someone seeing the Aurora the first time, what's a quick tip? Just one.
Be patient.
All right. Darkness, is that a friend or a foe?
It depends, because like strong northern lights with the full moon are beautiful, but the darkness there's a vibe about just being out in the dark, not being able to see your hand in front of your face, and then suddenly everything's green. So a friend, but there's benefits both ways.
You've been taking away my next question. It's like I think it's a hot one. Full moon and northern lights, worth it or not?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I've got some great photos of the northern lights cutting through the full moon on a moonlit sky. It's beautiful.
Does it make shooting them even harder?
Especially with the snow. No, it makes seeing them a bit harder sometimes, but if you can't see the aurora with your eyes, then it doesn't count anyway. It's got to be good.
Yeah. I'm going to jump in because that's crazy. I'm just going to cut off the quickfire.
It's all right.
Uh,
We gotta come back.
It's just something that is like when you think about shooting Northern Lights, it's like the full moon is typically it's a no-go. You know, that's a full moon tonight. There's no point going.
Yep.
So that's just an interesting.
Not the case. Absolutely not the case. Especially when it's snowy, the full moon lights up the landscape, and the sky goes blue because the sun makes the sky blue. The full moon also makes the sky blue, and so then you cut that with reds, greens, purples going through the sky. It's beautiful. The reason people say you shouldn't look at the northern light, or you can't see the northern lights with a full moon, is because they didn't see the northern lights. Basically,
Yeah.
But
yeah.
does it make shooting them harder? Like
No,
no?
it makes
Fire question. No.
if you're taking photos of people under the northern lights, then you need, the way I do it is you have a 2 to 3 second exposure that gets the sky, and then I have one pop of light, one flash, not a torch, but an actual strobe light, and that obviously gets the face. But if you do that under a full moon, if the full moon's behind me and I'm shooting you that way,
It's enough.
the full moon's going to ruin the flash, and any movement you make in those 3 seconds becomes a blur in the picture. So that's the thing it does. It makes shooting pictures of people difficult.
So
That's
for
the only thing
evidence,
it does.
it's-
Everything else is fine.
for evidence, it's harder. But
Yeah.
for a good landscape composition, it makes it better.
Yeah. Oh,
All right.
interestingly though, the way your mirrorless or DSLR works and the way your smartphone works are completely different. Your smartphone for a long exposure isn't taking a true long exposure. It's actually taking a series of photos and stacking them together, merging them together. So when you do a long exposure on your iPhone or your Galaxy or whatever, it's not a true long exposure, and therefore the light that comes into the picture isn't as detrimental as the amount of light that comes in that would ruin a normal traditional long exposure.
Yeah.
So if you've got some moonlight and you're using your phone to take photos of the northern lights, they'll actually be better.
Because it's essentially exposure stacking as opposed to
Yeah.
a long exposure.
Exactly.
That's the
So, there's a little
some
trick for you.
great advice at the very end of the podcast, which is pretty good.
So yeah, now you can use that little line that everyone uses. Wait until the end and see what he says.
Okay. I got 2 more. So
Okay.
easy one. What's your favorite winter destination?
Lofoten.
Why not? Obviously. And
Sucker.
then not really Quickfire anymore, but where should all the listeners or viewers go to follow your journey?
Lofoten Insight or Dave Williams on everything. I'm even on that Chinese TikTok, Red Note. But yeah, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, .coms, Dave Williams or Lofoten Insight.
Okay, Dave, thanks so much for becoming a Vallerret Creative Outsider. Quite some examples you gave us from the emotions and challenges out there. If you want to dive deeper into Dave's work, get your hands on his book, The Complete Aurora Guide. Check his channels in the show notes and make sure you come into Lofoten and get an unforgettable tour with Lofoten Insights. We hope you enjoyed this episode. Hit follow on Spotify, Apple, wherever you get to listen or watch our podcast, Vallerret's Creative Outsiders, obviously presented by Vallerret. We're celebrating 10 years of staying out longer. We're keeping photographers, filmmakers, and creators out there, keep them warm and be able to live those stories. Thank you so much, Dave. Thanks, Carl. It was a great time.
Thanks for
Dave.
having me.
Great chatting with you.
You too, guys.